Hey, it's Brayden, and I'm here with Logagina, Poindexter, and just us two. That's it. And this is.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a time machine?
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Stop, do something!
Health, sleep, murder.
Absolutely.
How are you today, Logan?
I'm great, but isn't that like the third time you've called me Logan Gina?
No, it's not.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's because every time we're discussing before we record, you're like, maybe you just that's what I hear. I'm just ready for it. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna call me girl's name and we're gonna push play, and I'm like, oh wait, we're not recording.
I just call you girls' names even when we're not recording, anyways. So you know what to expect. So just us two on the show, no guests.
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we had guests, or we did actually, and they canceled on us. They didn't like us. They thought we were just some poo-poo heads, some dunderheads, and yeah, that's how it is. I'm kidding. No, they couldn't make it because of family issues, but
They'll be on.
Yeah,
coming.
Just had to be postponed.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we had to grab someone off the street because we needed a guest.
Yes, you stole me. You kidnapped me from the street.
He was just having a McDonald's, and we were like, "Hey, kid, you want to be in a podcast?
I'll give you a nickel." And he's like, "Wow, that's more than I've ever earned in my life." So
that's not what happened. You power washed my cardboard box and then forced me to join you.
Anyways, we have Trevorina joining us today.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For those of you guys who don't know, believe it or not, I do have a little sister.
Okay. So, little brother.
Really, we couldn't tell.
Okay, let's move on, people.
No, Trevor is always the butt of the jokes. He's a good friend, and then Brayden's little brother. So,
and he's a butt. So makes sense.
I had to live with this guy, Logan.
Oh, I know.
Years.
So, announcements. Just a few. Very important. Talk Ag to Me, our episode came out on the 9th. Have you guys listened to it yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good episode.
Right.
Came out on the 9th. Check it out. Great podcast again. Really educational. And towards the tail end of the episode, it gets a little fun. We get off topic and it's fun.
That's not like us. That's not like us at all to get off topic.
No, not at all. Everything's scripted here. So, Geekology 101. We recorded with them a week or two ago, and the episode's finally coming out Wednesday the 16th at 6 a.m. Eastern time, I think, or Central time. Coming out early morning, Wednesday, September 16th. So look out for that episode, Geekology 101. Very big podcast. They actually just joined a network of podcasts. So they're definitely growing. It's a father and son duo podcast. Really cool guys. And they go over comic book things and movies and TV shows. And they're just really fun. And we had a blast. We talk about the movie The Mask, starring Jim Carrey. So look out for that episode, Geekology 101. Subscribe to them and wait for that episode to come out. So we're looking forward to that one. And we're looking forward to having real guests on one of these days.
Oh, okay.
So, without further ado, we decided to do a movie about a thick white boy.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah,
concerning.
He does do some pretty. I mean, it's a movie about somebody who defends their home, right? You know,
Yes.
they pull off all these crazy stunts, um, you know, protecting their home from scum and villainy. And you would think that we're talking about a war movie, but in fact, we're actually talking about Home Alone, the movie,
Yes.
the myth,
The
the
movie.
legend.
Yes. And that's why we brought Trevor on, because he's very used to being alone. So we thought we'd get his
Yes,
input.
I can relate. I have expert insight into being alone at home for extended periods of time.
or being alone without a home too. So
Yes, that too.
That's why we picked him up off the street.
Power wash my cardboard box.
Oh my gosh!
so
How long are we gonna keep that gag going? All right, yeah. So
yeah, so Home Alone. So what we decided to do for some research is on Netflix. There's a series called "The Movies That Made Us," and they're like 45-minute episodes that go behind the scenes in the making of certain movies that are really big in pop culture that have influenced a lot of people. And I think they only have like 4 or 5 episodes for the first season, but one of them happens to be Home Alone. So all three of us watched it separately. I enjoyed it. What did you guys think of the documentary?
I definitely like the style because it's not so it doesn't interrupt, like it's set up very much like it could be a a TV show set on TV. Not much like Netflix, so it feels very well TV-esque, but that's just their style. But as far as the information and what they brought out was really interesting, and they bring it out in a way that keeps your attention because they are long episodes. But yeah, and it's a lot of information that you don't really get to see, especially in just looking up and doing research and behind the scenes. They get to talk to people who were there, and not just some of the actors, but also some of the film crew. And it was I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I have to agree with Logan on that. I thought the style was very relaxed, and it really kept you focused on the topic, and it wasn't a very distracting documentary, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it keeps your attention. It's not super boring. Like some documentaries can kind of drag,
Mhm.
right? But this one was very light and very fast paced, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like some documentaries they try to be cinematic, but that ends up being really boring. And this one is just focusing on just the movie and the information it's trying to present.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the interviews that they do with people that were actually there, that were involved in the making of the movie, and to see them before, when they're younger or a little younger, and then now, it's pretty interesting. But I'll kind of just really give a brief synopsis. It's about a little boy that fights off 2 bad guys from his home. That's pretty much it. It's a very simple premise. He's left home alone.
The movie, not the documentary.
Yes. Well, the documentary too, technically. But yes, it's a little boy who's left alone at home during Christmas. His family leaves him behind. So he's stuck at home. And there's 2 bad guys. I don't know what they want to do with him. It's kind of weird. But he has to fight them off. He has to protect his territory. So shenanigans ensue.
Yeah. And I honestly don't know anybody who hasn't seen Home Alone. It's kind of one of those movies. I mean, it's set during Christmas, and that's kind of something that it makes it come around pretty much every year in December. Actually, they get started really early. They started in November, and it stays popular throughout the rest of till the end of the year.
Yeah. So I'd like to start by just going into the writing process real briefly.
Mm-hmm.
The very beginning of Home Alone. And that all starts with a very iconic 80s figure by the name of John Hughes. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know John Hughes was basically the big shot in the 80s. He directed some of the perennial, I don't know what you want to call them, iconic 80s movies of all time, some of my favorite movies. I'll just go down a really quick list here. One of my favorite movies of all time, and I do want to cover it one of these days. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He directed that. He wrote Pretty in Pink. He directed 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, which does kind of Uncle Buck kind of ties into to Home Alone a little bit. And then he did not direct Home Alone. He wrote Home Alone. So he's shooting out scripts throughout the 80s. Some of them he's directing. Some of them he has others direct, like the National Lampoon movies. He writes those scripts, a lot of them, and then has someone else direct. What do you guys think of John Hughes?
I think that he, like you said, was very well known, especially for those. I guess the best way to put him was the Brat Pack kind of
Yeah.
movies. Like you said, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Pretty in Pink, and didn't he do The Breakfast Club as well?
Yeah, and I forgot one, Weird Science. That's another big
Weird
one.
Science, that's right. So yeah, I mean, pretty much quintessential English. To the times. I remember those being really popular with my older sister. But yeah, I mean, he. I remember in the documentary they were saying how he would write multiple scripts in a weekend, in a couple weeks. He would just be kicking them out, be writing them through, and passing them out and saying, "Hey, you know, I want this director to do this. I want somebody else to do this one. This one's fantastic." And he was he loved storytelling. You could tell, like, he always had a story that he wanted to tell. And I think that's lost on a lot of people nowadays. They have stories that start off well, but they didn't have kind of the gravitas that he carried.
Mhm.
So a lot of times they're either rewritten by the director, which this one, you know, was a little bit, you know, edited by the director, and we can get into that later. But a lot of people now are kind of overthrown by the producers or by the studio, where they say, no, you know, we want it to kind of carry this kind of feel. We want it to be this kind of movie because this is what works, and they don't let a lot of people do at least with the big budget movies is what I'm getting at. I know there's still a lot of really great indie movies that continue doing things their own way, but I think it's kind of been lost a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Trevor?
What was the question?
John Hughes. What do you know about him? What do you think of him?
Never met him.
Okay. Well, that's that. And
No, he's from the documentary. It really becomes apparent that he's a really talented guy. I mean, think about how often when we're given like a writing assignment in school, and we just can't come up with anything. But this guy is spitting out scripts that often. You know, it takes he obviously has a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity, and he's able to not only produce a lot of scripts but a lot of high quality scripts. You know.
yeah, he did. And I'm sure he wrote a bunch of just filler scripts. You know, he seems like he just loved writing scripts, and he would just hit lightning in a bottle multiple times, if that makes sense. He'd spit out a bunch of a handful of scripts, and one or two of those would just be great classic movies. So iconic guy. So what happened after the script? I mean, how did it? Logan, Trevor, from the documentary, what did you see as far as the process and actually getting this script turned into a movie?
Well, if I remember correctly, and if you're wanting to talk about kind of further back, let me know. But he wanted his good friend who had already kind of directed a couple movies, but the movie that he last did, Chris Columbus, had done kind of flip flopped. It wasn't the best movie, and it was based off of. I'm having a brain fart. Come on, help me out. The
Heartbreak Hotel, the Elvis.
Heartbreak Hotel with Elvis. Yeah, about Elvis. and that movie didn't do that great, but he saw in Chris that he could do it. And Chris had written a couple of his own scripts that had done pretty well, and so he said, "Hey, I think that he can," and he wanted him to do it. He had confidence in him, gave him a second chance, and Chris Columbus loved the script, and he thought this is excellent. But he wanted to have his own. Usually you don't mess with the script written by John Hughes, but he wanted to tweak it a little bit, and so there's a little bit of back and forth there. But yeah, if that's where you wanted to go, what were you talking about?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned or brought up Chris Columbus, because he was a talented writer in his own right, and that's kind of how he started out. But he wrote the script for Gremlins, so he wrote. Well, that was one of his first. That was only his second script, and that was obviously a classic. And he wrote the script to The Goonies, so he was a very talented writer. And then in 1987, his first directing gig was Adventures in Babysitting, which I think is a 80s teen comedy classic. At least to some people it is. But then his next movie was, Heartbreak Hotel was kind of a bust. So he was kind of on the downside of things after that. But John Hughes had faith in him to direct the movie. And go
And
ahead.
John, if I remember correctly, he kind of considered him as his protege, right?
Right, yeah.
Like they're friends, but he also saw a lot of himself in Chris and had a lot of respect for him and he saw a lot of potential, and he wanted to give him that opportunity to show it with the world. I'm glad he did, because we got Home Alone.
Yeah, well, and guys, Chris Columbus ended up directing not only just Home Alone and the second Home Alone movie, but he directed some classics after that. Mrs. Doubtfire, Bicentennial Man. He did the first two Harry Potter movies. And then lately, I know it didn't get great reviews, but Pixels, he directed Pixels. That was his latest movie with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and he also discovered America.
Oh, that's right. Wow. We're kicking out a guest this early.
Trevor, the Vikings discovered America. Come on.
All right, moving on.
But yeah, no, I mean, like you said, it was he ended up making some really, really great films. I mean, and he even did The Help. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
I don't see that here.
You don't see The Help, that he wrote it or had a hand?
No, nope, not at all. Let me see here. I think you're getting him confused with another white guy.
I might have. Oh no, that's Tate Taylor. Totally different.
Who wrote it?
Tate Taylor.
He's another white guy.
Yep.
How did you get that confused?
Because they're both white.
Logan, you racist.
IMDb. No, IMDb. Not the source.
What does IMDb say though?
Let me see.
Isn't most of the information there like publicly submitted? Like,
I'm pretty sure it's accurate usually.
Yeah, it's fairly accurate. It says known for The Help. Let me see.
maybe he like helped out a lot. I don't know.
Known for helping.
Yeah, it's
Maybe he's like I don't know. No, it's produced by Chris.
produced
Columbus.
by. There you go.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, so he was. I mean, he had a
Yes,
hand in
I
it,
see it here now. He was the producer.
But there's a lot of producers in that movie, so I mean,
Well, he produced a lot of good movies too.
yeah.
I mean, he produced all the three Night at the Museum movies and the first two Fantastic Four movies. He was an executive producer. So I mean, he's a big guy in the movie industry. Not an Academy Award winning director, but he's good. Anyways, so we got two guys that are really talented that get this thing going, right? And
I believe at the time they weren't that well known.
well, John Hughes, yes, he he was a powerhouse in the 80s, like I mentioned, and Home Alone was 1990. Chris Columbus, no, not so much. Not like he is today. But yeah, so what happens next, guys? How do they get this movie made? I told you I wasn't there.
Actually, the studio, the studio had issues with them because they had their budget was supposed to be quite small. Because honestly, it seemed like the man, I'm having a brain fart. The
You are a brain fart, Logan.
yeah, I swear.
That movie overall, like the people behind the movie at the beginning, they didn't really expect it to be like this huge, like hit that it is today.
Well, duh.
Yeah, well, and even especially the studio, they were like, this is
Yeah.
gonna be terrible.
Their first studio, which was
Yeah,
Warner.
the first studio was like, this is gonna be dumb, and so there was kind of an undercut. So originally the budget was supposed to be $11 million, which in today's standard is nothing. That's like what they spend on special effects alone,
Right.
usually, or more.
Well, no,
Ju-
not even.
Yeah. That you won't buy enough to produce to build the sets. But so they had a budget of 11 million, and they were given the green light. They said, "Go ahead." And they came back and they said, "We actually can't do it for 11 million. We're going to need 14. We'll say 14.5, somewhere in that range." And the studio came back and said, "If you can't do it for 13.2, close up shop. You're not making the movie." But before they were told that, they had actually spoken. Chris Columbus had actually spoken with some of the executives over at Fox,
Like
and
all under the
Fox.
table.
Yeah. This was
It's technically
definitely
illegal.
Yeah, definitely illegal. And they said, "Hey, if this falls through, don't worry. Just keep making the movie." And so they go back, they get the call, and the original studio, which was 20th Century, they said, "Hey, close up shop. You're done. We're not making this movie. We're not gonna give you the money. Close up shop." And as somebody would come and say, "Hey, close up shop," there was somebody behind them saying, "Keep working. This is a Fox movie now." And there's Fox shirts put everywhere, and it was a Fox movie. They got it again, like Trevor said, it was definitely a lot not legal, but it was made. It was made, and Fox is definitely happy that they did it because they came out way on top for $14.5 million. They ended up making back quite a lot. In fact, the box office just domestically, they made $285 million. I'd say that was a slam hit.
With a budget of like 14 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's some huge profit right there. Not
That
gonna
is
lie.
some absolutely huge profit. And they cut
What
a lot
about
of corners.
worldwide? What about total?
Total worldwide, it was $476 million.
Wow.
So
And what
almost
was it considered? Like the third highest grossing movie at the time of all time?
Right,
Wasn't it?
yeah.
behind Star Wars and what was the other one?
I believe it was E.T.
Yeah, I think it was E.T. That's crazy.
That's huge, a lot of money.
Did Trevor just say that's huge, a lot of money?
I caught it after I said it. And,
That's huge, big money, man.
I mean, that's
Big
like
boy.
talk.
That's right. Trevor hangs out with the homeless. I forget.
Oh my gosh, that
That's
gag.
thick boy money. That's what you mean, Trevor. So, I mean, that's crazy. And let's be honest here. I really don't think the movie gets made if it's someone else other than John Hughes who writes the script. Some bum like Trevor writing the script of Home Alone. They're gonna shoo him out of the office.
Well, and two, I think I definitely think the studios didn't have any confidence whatsoever in Chris Columbus because of his past movie, the Elvis Presley movie. They're like, there's no way this is gonna, he's a bum. He's great at writing scripts, we don't have confidence in making a movie. But they cut a lot of corners in the movie. So, like for instance, they had to make snow, right? And because it's again the time period is during a Christmas, so they wanted it to snow, and so they had to use cut potatoes to make it fluffy, to make the snow look fluffy, because they wanted everything to look fluffy instead of using really expensive fake snow, and it ended up stinking up the place. So there's a lot of things like that, and that they had to cut
What were they?
corners.
Potato skins, or what were they?
No, just cut potatoes like really thin.
I believe it's
Sliced.
just like potatoes without the skin, and then they just like cut them all up.
Yeah, like potato chips that aren't cooked, basically.
hmm
And so that's why they went bad and started stinking up the place.
Which is, I believe, now is a common special effects choice. Is to just use potatoes.
Trevor,
mean-
you are a potato.
Well, okay. I mean,
it
Logan,
worked.
Logan, you gotta help me out here, okay?
Well, I don't really have to say anything because Brayden is a potato himself, so
Oh, good one, Logan.
y'all are related.
Another cool thing I thought they did as far as the production design. Do you guys remember the production designer or the set designer's decision when it came to the color scheme?
Oh yes, it was. No, I don't remember. Sorry.
What?
You mean as if as with the green and red everywhere in the house?
Yeah, everything was green and red.
Yeah, they wanted it to have that same feeling overall. They wanted it to all be matching, to all feel like it's Christmas time, and that the inside the house actually wasn't inside the house that they show on the outside. They couldn't actually film inside that house; it was just too small.
Well,
inside.
yeah, because you had to have all the crew members and the cinematography and the cameras and the director. So, what did they do, Logan?
They actually built the entire model house inside the gymnasium of a local school.
Well, not just any school, Logan. Do you remember the significance of this high school?
I feel like you're talking to Logan like he's like a little kid. Like, do you remember? Do you remember what I said?
Well, yeah, it's the school where they filmed a lot of the big hits, such as The Breakfast Club, such as Pretty in Pink.
Ferris Bueller. It's just an abandoned high school that a lot of movies used to shoot
in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Do you guys remember why they filmed in Chicago?
Because the guy there very condescending, Brayden. I want you to know that.
Do you know why it's called Home Alone?
Because the kid is home alone.
Do you know why they named him John Hughes? What were his parents thinking?
Oh my gosh.
No.
What I think getting you two in one call would be a good idea. Y'all have lived together way too long.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Anyways,
the director didn't trust. He didn't like being in a studio. He didn't like Hollywood, breathing down his neck. The director.
No, it was John Hughes, Logan.
Was it
John Hughes? Well, remember, because this high school was used for John Hughes movies because he liked filming in Chicago. He's not a Hollywood guy. He doesn't like the whole hubbub and of
It's like
Hollywood.
studios because I don't know, I forgot the reason, but he just doesn't like studios in general.
Yeah.
Well, because they breathe down your neck, and they're always kind of, oh, you can't do that, or oh, we got to make this more friendly.
Right. I can see your underpants.
Yeah. Whereas if he were to shoot in Chicago, have it shot in Chicago, it was away from prying eyes, basically. Or he would hear news of somebody coming in time to be able to
hide the illegal stuff.
And hide the illegal stuff.
In fact, they used the entire high school not only as like a set, but also as like production offices.
Yep.
that made things really convenient for them.
They even used the pool, the high school pool,
That's right. They used the pool for the basement of the house.
because
Oh,
there was a
yeah.
scene where it got flooded, and they didn't want to just flood a random area. They wanted to flood something that could be flooded and drained if they needed to be reshot. And the pool was actually the perfect size, so everything in the basement scene was all shot inside of a high school pool, which is interesting to say the least.
Pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that they just built the whole set of the house in a gym is pretty cool. I mean, you really can't tell. I mean, they pulled it off really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the exterior was actually a real house.
Yes,
You can actually visit it.
very popular tourist attraction. in
Which a lot of
Chicago.
things have changed about it. They changed the driveway. They changed. I mean, obviously, trees are going to come and go. It's been,
How many years?
30 years now. Holy,
30. Wow.
yeah.
Oh my
that's
goodness.
That's almost double my age.
Jeez, that's yeah. That's
And you know what we skipped over is kind of one of the driving reasons why John Hughes even wrote the script for the movie. He had just worked on Uncle Buck. Have you guys seen Uncle Buck?
oh yeah, yeah. No, I haven't seen the
I
movie,
might
but
see
yeah,
parts of it.
That's a really good 80s comedy. John Candy, I mean, hilarious. But that was Macaulay Culkin's, I think it's his first movie. And John Hughes really enjoyed working with him. So he wanted to do another movie with him.
he wanted to do a movie with a kid as the main character, as the
Mhm.
main protagonist, as the star. And that's also something that the studio, I think, had a distrust with, of having, because at the time, the 80s, the 90s, this is when Arnold Schwarzenegger, when uh get to the chopper, put the cookie down. I don't have it's not a tumor, it's not.
I feel very disturbed right now.
It's movie stars would pull in
Yeah.
money for
Yeah,
movies. It wasn't
Rambo.
Rambo. I mean, Sylvester Stallone, all these guys, they were the reason why people went to go see a movie. Not because the movie might be good, which people still did that, but more so because Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be in this movie. I'm going to go see it. Sylvester Stallone is going to be in it. Oh, I'm going to go see it. So having a kid as the main protagonist, as the main character, as what they're going to be showing as the publicity, as the man, I just cannot think today. I don't know what's going on.
Marketing.
Oh my goodness.
Real
English
estate.
English should be my first language. But anyways, yeah, that was a risk, but I mean he really wanted to, and it ended up working out.
Well, Macaulay Culkin. You need to think about
Say
if I
his full
said
name. Say his full name, Brayden.
no, you say his full name.
Macaulay Culkin.
Why?
He I don't know. I don't remember the reason. He set up like a website where people could vote on different name choices.
For
and
what?
It's for his middle name. And so his middle name's now Macaulay Culkin. So when you say his full name, it's Macaulay Culkin. And I mean, I don't know what to think about that.
Child acting definitely got to him.
Hey, I mean, he did have a rough after. What would you call it? He's doing better now. But yeah,
he's not a superstar, but when you talk about, if I said, name me the top 5 child actors of all time, or the most infamous or influential, he's going to be on everyone's list. Really, because of the Home Alone movies.
Yeah, and he was actually said to be more well behaved than some of his co-star. Well, actually, one in specific, Joe. Actually, if everyone remembers,
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. He played Harry, and he's a method actor. But he's also, it was hard for him. The hardest part for the whole movie, and a lot of people who have watched his movies in the past probably know that it's hard for him not to curse. It's actually difficult. He even admitted to it that the only way he could read a script is if he puts the F word in between, every other word. So,
That's not a problem.
yeah, especially for a PG movie starring a kid, definitely a problem. But he was definitely someone to want his way. If he thought his character wouldn't do something, or if it wasn't, he felt it was too silly. It was hard for him to be silly. So he would act out a little bit more than his younger co-star. Yeah, excuse me. Which I thought was hilarious. This adult misbehaving more than
Yeah,
a
well,
kid.
that's what you get when you get diva superstars in your movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just found the other choices for his middle name, for Macaulay Culkin's middle name.
Go ahead.
So obviously, okay, so Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And then Kieran, Kieran.
Which is his brother's name, no?
I thought it was like his half sister's name. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's a guy or girl name. Just like Logan.
And then get this, Shark Week was one of the choices. And finally, the McRib is back.
The internet is a wonderful place.
It really is. It really is. It's terrifying at the same time, but it can also be wonderful. I feel like that describes this podcast: terrifying and wonderful at the same time.
So, some fun facts, some weird fun facts on Macaulay Culkin. He got married in 1998 at the age of 18. And he got divorced 4 years later. Right after his divorce, or during, I don't know, around the same year, he'd started dating Mila Kunis.
Wow.
And they broke up 9 years later. They were together for a while.
Wow.
Since 2003, he's actually lived in Paris. And his current relationship is with Brenda Song from the Asian girl from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. What's her name? London?
Yeah.
The rich girl?
Yeah.
Like that.
They've been dating since 2017. Oh, and his very first relationship around the time of Home Alone was with Michael Jackson.
Oh my god! No.
Oh
Okay,
my gosh.
we're gonna take a break right now.
A word from our sponsors.
We're not gonna get any sponsors after that. We're gonna get barred from all advertising.
Oh my gosh.
No, he came out in defense of Michael Jackson.
Yes, that's right. That was his. Okay. Anyways,
hold it in, Brayden. Hold it in. Don't say it. Do not say
What
it.
is this podcast is a weird obsession with Michael Jackson. Have you noticed that?
I think it's just Brayden.
Brayden is Michael Jackson.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
All right. So,
Well, actually, so speaking of, Macaulay Culkin, he wasn't actually the original choice for the director. He was for John Hughes, but Chris Columbus, he said that he felt a need to conduct a traditional audition process. So he saw hundreds of children, and in person through audition tapes, he went through all that, and he decided, yeah, Culkin was in fact the perfect choice to star for this movie, just as John had said. So he actually was part of it. And that infamous scream, right? Whenever he's shaving and he puts on the aftershave, and he just slaps it on his face and starts screaming.
yes, I do that a lot.
That wasn't actually how the
Oh my goodness! Oh, you bring it quiet for like 2 seconds.
So that whole part was off the script. So the scripted part of it was that he was supposed to put on the aftershave and pat his face a couple of times and then scream. What he did was he slapped his face once and then started screaming. And the director thought that was just such, what a child would do. It was such a genuine reaction. He was like, that's going to be in the movie. That's it. That's, we're going to continue. We're going to move on. And so he didn't go back, and he allowed that bit of the script to be changed. Whereas the rest of the time they were pretty pretty close to it, except for in one other instance, was in fact with we had mentioned John Candy earlier, and John Candy, all of his lines was improvised. John had come up, and him and John Candy and John Hughes were friends. They showed up to film the scene, and John Candy was doing this, by the way, really cheap. He was doing this as a favor, and
For just one day.
for one day of filming, and John Hughes, he
No, it was
bamboozled him, he tricked him, he got him. They filmed for 23 hours
Yeah,
to get
that's one
everything
day.
done. Oh, but I mean, and it's one of the last things that we got to hear from John Candy, and that seems to be another recurring theme of this podcast. We talk about people who, if only they were still around, that what we could have had. John Candy was another that was gone before what a lot of people would have expected, and even John Hughes himself as well, fairly young. But all of those lines that John Candy had given, the whole traveling polka band, was all improvised, and so they just had to go with the flow. O'Hara, Macaulay Culkin's character's mom, she just went with the flow, and it ended up being a pretty funny bit. What do y'all think?
He's a natural comedic actor, and him and John Hughes had just worked on Uncle Buck. That's where the connection is he had worked with Macaulay Culkin and John Hughes just previously, the year before, on Uncle Buck, so they had all that connection there. And he was doing a favor, but yeah, they really melt. And actually, I think it was the director, Chris Columbus, who really was the one behind keeping him for 23 hours, more than John Hughes, even though John Hughes was present and he was okaying it.
It sounds to me like they were both kind of like, oh yeah, we got this, we got this guy in the ropes. Which, I mean, he was John Hughes' friend, so he was, he wanted to do this. But yeah, I think it was excellent.
Yeah, another interesting thing, you mentioned the actress who plays Kevin's mom, Catherine O'Hara. She was known as a comedy actress. She had just come off of Beetlejuice. Now, the reason why I bring up Beetlejuice is because I need to correct myself from a previous episode. When we were on the Cinebros podcast, I had mentioned that Tim Burton had only done Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he was approached to do Batman. Well, that's not true. I messed up there, and I realized it when I was listening to the episode. I just completely forgot about Beetlejuice. Tim Burton had just come off of Beetlejuice, which was a huge hit when he was approached to do Batman. So Catherine O'Hara was in that movie, and the casting director for Beetlejuice was the same casting director for Home Alone. And she cast Catherine O'Hara because she enjoyed she enjoyed that role that she cast her in with Beetlejuice. So there's a connection there too. Just wanted to clear the air.
Well, and speaking of cast choices, somebody else that y'all might not have noticed or might not remember seeing, did y'all know that there was an Avenger in the movie?
In the third movie.
Well, I mean, come on. It's in Home Alone. It's in the universe. Come on.
Oh
It's
my
in
gosh.
the continuity, Brayden.
That doesn't count.
It's a really big stretch right there.
You're trying to trick the audience, and I will not let you.
Well, Scarlett Johansson was his older sister in the third movie, playing as Molly. And yeah, it was one of her earliest roles. Just, a fun fact. But yeah, I was
Macaulay
trying to...
Culkin turned the third movie down.
How old
Have
was
you
he
guys
at the
seen-
time when he was off?
The third movie came out when he was like 17, 18, so makes sense, kind of.
Yep. Yeah.
He's about to get married. And Macaulay Culkin had retired from acting at that time. It's one of the reasons why he turned it down.
Yeah. And it's hard to kind of not justify, but yeah, I guess justify, because once you get to that age, to put up kind of a fight or to put up any kind of like, hey, you gotta show that you're defending your house from intruders, then it's becoming a horror movie. So once you get to that age. But
Yeah, it was kind of weird seeing a grown man just like stood up
afraid
strapped.
of two men trying to
Yeah.
break in and saying, "Hey, little boy."
Like instead of calling the police like any adult would do, would just set up traps in his house.
You know, they should have had him just act like he had the mental capacity of a 10-year-old.
Like
Even
Like, he was
kind
so
of like
smart.
Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, where he's 17 years old, but he plays a 12-year-old with mental disabilities. That's what they should have done with the third movie.
I don't think that would have come off as.
yeah, that
I don't think that would have worked.
Would have
I
been
mean,
a
because the
classic.
movie, think about like it's just a little kid setting these traps, and it has like a little like I don't know how to put it, like charm, I guess. I Logan, help me.
Trevor thinks he's cute.
No,
Well, I
no.
mean, I do gotta agree with Trevor as far as there's not, if a kid, and then going back to what I said, is if a kid does it, it's kind of cute, it's kind of funny, and then if an adult does it, it's like, okay, this is a horror film. This poor person is
Yeah.
trying; they're afraid for their life,
Logan
and
said
and everybody's laughing at this. This is terrible.
Well, in reality, two guys trying to get a hold of a little kid is a horror movie in and of itself.
Yeah, but it's like
But when the kid has a higher IQ collectively than the two people trying to break in combined, it's okay.
besides, you never get the sense that they'll like I don't know.
Hurt him
Yeah,
till the end,
right.
but then by that time he's already safe because the old man comes and, spoiler alert, whacks him in the back of the head with a shovel.
Another thing about the sequels, have you guys seen the second one where he's in New York?
I have only seen that movie 1.5 times. I only got to see I think the first time I saw it was like half of it towards the end, and then one time in its full, but I don't remember any of it.
Really? Okay, so that one is one of those movies, I talk about them sometimes, as a little kid, 3 or 4-year-old before you go to kindergarten, when you're stuck at home, is one of those movies that I played on repeat all the time. Was the second one. That's the one I saw first, where he's lost in New York. So that one's actually more nostalgic for me. But you think about Macaulay Culkin, and he was not a star before Home Alone. He was known as the kid from Uncle Buck. So and he still got paid a good chunk of change for a child. He got paid $100,000 to be in the first Home Alone. Guess how much he got paid for the second movie?
Oh man, that movie did really good. The first one, so it must have been like I don't know,
$1 million.
Yeah, $1 million. Let's go for $1 million.
So the movie did great, and he got nominated for a Golden Globe. Also, I don't know if you guys knew that. So his payday for the second movie was $4.5 million.
No wonder why he retired. I would have too. I would have been. That's fantastic.
That's it. That's all I need. Go
I
away.
don't have to work another day in my life. Go buy a little cabin in the woods.
Yep.
Be good.
This is the height of luxury.
Play your cards right. That'll last you a lifetime.
I just got to have 1,000 megabit per second internet, and I'm good.
Yep. And a podcast.
And a podcast to keep me going. Yeah.
And a Brayden.
Everyone needs their own Brayden. Right, Trevor?
Depends, like for the limited period of time.
Trevor, you wear Depends.
What?
So another actor that was almost replaced, Daniel Stern, who plays the other bad guy.
Harry.
You guys remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? They're both Harry?
Wait, no.
What?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I'm sorry. Harry is, I'm sorry. Is Joe. I forgot. What was his name then? I don't remember.
I don't remember the names either.
In the movie.
Marv.
Marv.
Yeah. So if you remember, they wanted Daniel Stern to play Marv.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they extended the time they needed him for him to film. So they extended the filming time. And so Daniel Stern was like, okay, well, you're gonna bump the pay for me, but they couldn't because of the low budget. So he's like, I'm out of here. They hired someone else. The other guy, the chemistry between the new guy and Joe Pesci was not very good. And Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern had been in a movie already before, a few years before. And so their chemistry was very good, as you can see in the movie. It's part of what makes it work, of course. So, yeah, they had to get Daniel Stern back eventually because that's just, without him, I don't think the movie works.
No.
I think he's one of those two guys, the bad guys, and of course Macaulay Culkin are what really make this movie work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's pretty much what everybody remembers. I'm sure there's people out there who remember the movie, scene by scene and could, replay the lines that are given with exact timings. But for most people, what's remembered is a little boy, whacking a couple of stupid thieves, with trapping them and hitting them over the head with an iron or catching their hair on fire. And speaking of, actually, all those stunts were done by a real person without
real
pads
stuntmen
before CGI.
before CGI. Yeah, the stuntmen really did those stunts. They fell and landed on their backs really hard, and it was all done, with everybody, the rest of the crew, biting their nails, hoping that they're okay every time. But they did it, and they're like, "All right, you want to go to do it again? Was that shot good?" And Chris Columbus, was like, "No, that was good. I don't want you to get hurt." So they tried to minimize as much as they could those scenes, but redoing them anyways. But yeah, it was all done without thick padding like they do nowadays, where they end up landing on soft material. It was all landed on concrete or hard floors, and all those people walked away from it. So,
Revolutionized the stunt industry.
yeah.
Yep, those are big deals. And speaking of stunt doubles, Kevin's stunt double, Macaulay Culkin, was 30 years old. He was a small guy. They kidnapped him from the chocolate factory, and then they made him do stunts.
Oh my god! So Michael Jackson and Munchkins. Okay,
I forgot about it. We had to incorporate Munchkins in this somehow.
it's been a while. It really has.
So I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know really what to say to that, Brayden, I'll be honest.
So before we end, I do want to go into this conspiracy theory about Home Alone, okay?
Oh my!
Because we haven't done one in a little while, right? Since the kind of the beginning of the show. So I think this will be fun, right? There's a scene in the airport where Kevin's mom argues with an airline employee, okay? Now, behind her, there's a bearded man wearing a turtleneck sweater and a sports jacket, okay? He's on the right-hand side of the screen.
Mm.
And it's Elvis.
I mean, it is. I don't know what to say. I mean, I just
Like you're saying,
it just
like,
is.
it's Elvis, or you're just like
It's
like-
Elvis Presley with a beard on.
Oh, is that like
He's
part of the
alive.
conspiracy theory? Oh, okay. Because I when did he die?
1977.
And when did this movie come out?
1990.
1990.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. I understand now.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, Brayden. I think because I'm looking at the picture right now. Actually, I just had to look up.
Logan
Home Alone,
keeps that
Elvis
picture in
Presley.
his pocket all the time. So,
Elvis's daughter married Michael Jackson.
Dude,
That's
this
how
is
it
getting
connects.
deeper than we ever thought it would.
That's tied to the. Oh, we already tied it to the chocolate factory, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else do we
We-
need to tie it to? I mean, this
we
is
need to
pretty
tie it
much
to
a
Robin
perfect-
Williams. We need to tie it to Robin Williams and DreamWorks and Disney.
Oh.
Let's see. John Candy died young or earlier than he should have, and so did Robin Williams. Is
I
that
mean,
a
that's
stretch?
pretty. That's pretty suspicious right there.
Oh, I know one. So Chris Columbus, the director, he produced the Night at the Museum movies, starring Robin Williams.
Oh. Oh,
Chris Columbus is behind it all.
dude, it's Chris Columbus and John Hughes. They're behind all of it. Because Chris Columbus also directed a movie about Elvis Presley.
And he also found America. So
And he
he's
found
got to
America.
have some kind of device that, or secret miracle cream.
Cream. How does that work?
It had
You have to rub it all over your body, and you stay young.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I thought you were gonna go with the whole. I thought you were gonna put it with like time travel and have it go with Back to the Future as well, tie in with Back to the Future.
Oh, you think that he's time traveling?
Dude, I know he is. What do you mean?
I think the more logical explanation is he's got a cream or some kind of fountain of youth.
No. Think about it. I think he does time travel because he went back, got Elvis Presley, told Elvis Presley to grow his beard out and to wear like to dye his hair brown instead of black like it usually is,
Well,
and then to be in his movie.
Wow.
It's foolproof. I don't know what to tell you.
Why don't we create a website
Oh no!
just for this conspiracy?
I think that's enough for today. Brayden.
Yeah, I'm tired.
I think it's both me and Trevor's bedtime.
Okay, so Home Alone, starring Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so we have to. How is Michael Jackson fit into the whole thing? Other than
Well, he was
Macaulay
under. Well, he was under Kevin's bed the whole time.
Oh, it hurts, dude. It hurts. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's it. Oh my goodness.
All right. Maybe he was in the closet. Anyway, so you guys want to add anything else?
I think that's it, man.
You added way too much, Brayden.
All right. Well, Trevor, you have to come up with your own sign-off because every guest has one.
Oh,
And don't forget to plug your Tinder profile and your and your Instagram.
I have neither of those, fortunately. I gotta come up with something. I guess I'm back off to the streets.
Okay. Goodbye, Logan.
Well, I honestly feel like I should take a nap after this. Jeez. So I guess it's my bedtime.
And to all those of you listening out there, including Elvis and Michael Jackson, I do want to say good morning. I'm going to say good afternoon to you. Good evening.
What if they're like accents?
Oh, just say goodnight so we can stop.
There are
And-
production managers.
And good night, MJ. MJ. My voice cracked.
Perfect.